Yeah.
Excellent. Afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at in the LinkedIn world. This is Angelica Corral with What in the World Events, and we have Jonathan Green, expert on AI. And we're going to jump into this conversation immediately. And I'm going to start by asking Jonathan Green to tell me a little bit about yourself and what is it that you do, Jonathan Green?
Sure. I help people to figure out how to use AI to do things faster, to save time so they can have more time to either invest in growing their business or to spend with their family, which is the most important thing to me.
That is awesome. I've seen you. I know that you are really a stickler when it comes to spending time with your family. And, I really believe in that too, because what is the point if all you do is work? The years go by and those special moments with the family, where are they, right? So this is perfect what you're doing. I think a lot of businesses need what you're going to talk about. So, what inspired you to do what you do, Jonathan?
So I've been a full-time entrepreneur for about 14 years now, and I've always been saying the same thing, which is that even if you don't ever want to start your own business, you want to have something going on the side just in case, a little emergency revenue stream. And we saw over the past few years that when things go bad, so often the boss will save the company or save themselves. He's like, I can pay me or I can pay you, but I can't pay both. So
Mm,
sorry. And we discovered that this idea of two-way loyalty, it's not really true. Companies want a lot of loyalty from their employees and they give zero back.
mhm.
They really are always looking for ways to protect themselves, maximize revenue, take care of the investors, but never the employees. So sometimes we have this, in fact, most people have this belief, no, my company's looking out for me. If things go bad, they'll take care of me. And then when things go bad, they're shocked that you have to look out for yourself. So for a long time, I've been telling people to at least have a bit of a side business going, even if it's small, even if it's generating 10% of your regular salary. So that if you lose your main job, you have something you can grow. Instead of starting from zero, you can just accelerate it. It's the same thing that a lot of people do with their LinkedIn profile. You can always tell when someone's been fired because they suddenly get really active on LinkedIn. They update their profile, they finally update their resume, they
Mhm,
fix all the misspellings in their profile, they change the picture,
mhm.
and it creates like there's an obviousness to it, right? When we suddenly start getting all these messages from some we haven't heard from in 2 years and a request for us to say all the skills they have, it's the same thing that happens when someone goes through a breakup, right? Whenever I'm younger days, when I was single, no one's interested. As soon as I have a girlfriend, suddenly everyone's interested. We break up, no one's interested anymore
Mhm,
because
mhm.
you have this, at least for a guy, the certain stink of singleness to you. It's like, oh no, that she rejected him. He must be really terrible. So it's the same thing we create by waiting too long to take action. And
Mhm.
when you lose your job, this is what happened to me. There's so many things happening at once. You're under so much stress and so
Yes.
much pressure to sit down and go, okay, I'm going to try and start a business from scratch while I have a really tiny window of time. And I have to pick the idea. The
Mm.
idea phase is really big and it can take a long time. Most people, it takes 6 or 7 ideas before they find the one they're locked into. So the
Yes.
longer you wait, the more danger you're in, which means you might burn up your entire runway, your entire window where you get a severance package just picking an idea. But if you already have the idea going, you could just accelerate it. It's so much easier to accelerate something. I always say if I have a sales page that's making one sale, it's converting anything converting at 1%, one out of 100 people,
Mhm.
so much easier to fix than something that's at zero. Because at zero, you have no idea what's wrong. It might
Exactly.
be 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 1,000,000, which are very different. So with AI, we now have this amazing tool that's lowered the barrier to entry. It means people can now really have access to all these tools they didn't have access to before. It's lowered the barrier to entry to perfect English, to perfect grammar, to creating software, to copywriting, all of these skills that used to be so specialized and
Mhm.
took me years to learn. Now you
Mhm.
can do it with an AI in a matter of minutes, and everything is faster. There's this constant ability to accelerate, which means now I can accomplish more in a single day than I used to do in 2 days. And that
Mhm.
means I can try more ideas. I can test more ideas. I don't become emotionally invested in bad ideas, which is something else that tanks young entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs. So
Mhm.
all of these things are so powerful that I just want to spread the message, especially because a lot of people think that AI is optional.
Mhm.
And they're slowly discovering as companies flip over that there's several phases we go through. This happened in the 90s with the internet. It used to say like, "Oh, Microsoft skills a plus. If you know how to
Mhm,
do email and Word, that's cool." Then it
mhm.
became mandatory. Then it was 3 to 5 years of experience mandatory. Now they don't even put those skills on the job postings because it's an expectation. It's gone from explicit to implicit. If you show up
Mm,
and go, "Okay, so how do I do email?" You're gone. They won't
yes,
even consider hiring you, and it's gonna be the same thing for AI. What will
yes.
happen is a lot of people go, "It's a fad." They wait 2 or 3 years, and then everyone goes, "Okay, if you don't know how to do AI, you're fired. So you have to go look for a new job," and every job says 3 to 5 years of AI experience mandatory. So
Mm,
now, because of your not paying attention, not only did you get pushed out of the job market, you're banned. You now have this huge barrier, and this is something I saw when I graduated from college. Every single entry level position said 3 to 5 years experience required. I said, "Well, how do you then what does entry mean? If you have to have 3 years of experience, how do you get experience if you can't get any job? And how do you get a job if you have to have experience?" It's this catch 22. This is why I got into entrepreneurship. I was like, this is a rigged system that's impossible to break into
mhm.
because nobody can be entry level and have 5 years of experience. They're not the same thing.
Yes,
So that's really my core messaging.
that's awesome. So I was gonna ask you what was the moment you decided that you had to do something about this, but it sounds like you decided to do something about this because of the work situation? Am I correct, or is there something else you wanna add to that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I got into entrepreneurship when I was fired way back in 2010. And
Mhm,
I realized I was driving home. I go, wow, your boss can really hurt you. They can take away more than just your job. They
mhm,
can take away your ability to pay for food, your ability to pay for health insurance, your ability to pay for your kids, your ability
mhm,
to pay off bills and build up savings, all of these things. And when you're in your, when you're in your 20s, most of the time when you lose your job, it's your fault. Usually
mhm,
you just stop showing up for work or you called your boss a name, you did something. That's how I lost
mhm,
most of my jobs in my 20s. It was my fault. But in your
mhm,
30s, as you start to get more responsible, and some people obviously they get more responsible younger, as you get more responsible and start taking better action, you lose your job for things that aren't your fault. Most people who lose their jobs now, lost their jobs in the past 10 and 20 years, it's because of something the CEO did or something the investors did,
mhm,
something that happened at a level you don't have any decision making process. I've seen this at companies where they do a decimation. They say, we're firing 1 out of 10 people. That's what decimate means. We're killing
mhm,
1 out of 10 of you. And they'll go
mhm,
to every department. And one department, I remember they go, well, we're the most profitable department in the company. We're the only department that's not losing money. They go, it doesn't matter. You have to fire 1 out of 10. So you're punished even when you're carrying all the other departments. They'll still punish you
mhm,
because they believe in fairness in a way that makes no sense. It's like, well, we don't want to reward you for doing good, so we have to fire 1 out of 10 of you. And I've seen this happen. This has been happening for a long time. I've heard stories about this for my whole life about companies that did this.
mhm,
So large companies often make slow decisions and mass decisions that are just easy. It's easier to just fire 10 people, 10% of people for every department than to pick which departments are losing because they're already losing. If they lose more employees because they're losing, they're only going to get worse. They'll get further behind. That's the thought process.
mhm,
So it's all a math game and it's a poor decision making calculus because I know the company that did this, let's just say they almost went completely out of business. They had to go through a major acquisition and a massive devaluation. This
mhm,
happens all the time and no one ever connects the two things. So when you can lose your job for something outside your control, you need to set up something that is in your control. That's really my passion. So when I went through that experience, is I'm never letting someone do this to me again.
mhm,
I don't want someone to judge me and decide if I'm worthy or not, or fire me for something they did that is not my fault, or something even outside their control. We've all seen economic downturns. Sorry, we're cutting salaries, we're cutting time. If you want to keep your job, you have to take a pay cut. All of those things. We've even seen CEOs go out and say, "Why is everyone complaining about, losing their jobs or not getting a bonus this year?" And then give themselves a massive bonus.
mhm,
So there's a massive disconnect. And the only way to get that massive bonus is to be in charge of yourself. So
mhm,
that's where I became passionate about entrepreneurship. And my passion for AI just came in the past 2 years when I saw this is like a freight train of inevitability that you can
mhm.
either get on the train or you can get hit by the train, but you cannot avoid the train.
Absolutely. I was watching a Sinek special where he talks about this laying off of massive numbers of people at a time started off in the 1980s, and, it was something that they didn't do back in the day. So it's interesting how it's something that's, been happening on more occasion. I've just heard of a recent company doing that. So, it's good to be prepared and be prepared with something that is, uh, moving forward that we really need, that everybody needs to have that skill, correct? And, I'm working still, and I'm doing LinkedIn, but I feel like I need to have these skills and be prepared because I think the more skills you have, the better it you prepared you'll be, like you said, right? So, I'm really excited about, I wanted to ask about the 3 people that influenced you in your life, and then we'll get to the AI. I just
Sure, that's
okay?
fine. So the first biggest influence was my father. He was an entrepreneur for a long time, and I never under until when you're a kid, you always go, "He works all the time, I don't understand it." Then it becomes you and you understand it, right? By the time it's too late. So I realize now that he gave me a piece of advice a few years ago. He goes, "You shouldn't work more than 6.5 days a week." And I was like, "That's when you know you have two workaholics talking to each other." When he's like, he didn't even say take a whole, he's like, "You should take off a half day every week." And I do work 7 days a week. I work my own hours. I do things that I love. I work from home. I work from the beach, but it's kind of a shift. I said, if I work 7 days a week, 5 or 6 hours a day, I'd rather do that than work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And it's the same number of hours. It's just a balance. It allows me to deal with stuff over the weekend because there's always a customer. People, if they can't log into a membership site or can't access a product, they'll send in a support ticket on a weekend. If you're not there, they're just mad by the time you come in on Monday. So I've just always been responsive in that way because I want the people I buy from to be responsive in that way. So that's my first major influence. I would say that's the biggest influence on my business is really it comes from my father. The second biggest influence is my older sister. I was going to go to law school in my late 20s. My sister is a really successful lawyer, married to a lawyer. My dad was a lawyer. And my sister, one night, she's visiting me on a vacation and goes, "Listen, do not go to law school." And I was like, "What?" My entire life, she's given me advice once. She saved it for this moment. So I thought, this is pretty serious, right? When someone's waves, this is their big one. And she was right. It would have been the wrong move for me. I would have been good at it, but I would never been happy. All the restrictions and you can't travel and all the limitations and just the structure of it wasn't right for me. So that was a major turning point in my life, kind of that decision. And then the third major influence in my life was when I was teaching and going through my master's course. One of my private clients who I was a billionaire from another country said, "What are you doing? You need to switch to the MBA program. This is not for you. You're obviously an entrepreneur." And I should have listened to him. I waited too long, but he was like, "This is not what you want to be doing." And 2 years later, I was running my own business. It took me a little bit longer to listen to that advice. So those are those three big waypoints. And we don't, I would love to say that at the exact moment I got the advice, I instantly recognized it for the value and took action, but that's not really true. Life's not a movie. So there's a delay, but eventually I caught on.
Well, at least you caught on, and now you're doing something that's, absolutely forward thinking and helping people, right? So, let's look on the bright side. Now you're doing something that you love to do because you're gonna you have fun making money with AI. So, I'm excited to, where will we start with this AI conversation? I have
So
I do have one question, but,
yeah, great.
I'll let you get started with what you'd like to get started with,
Sure.
unless
The
you want
most,
me.
I'll go and then you go. I'll just go really quick. The most important thing is that AI can be easy. There's the whole promise of AI is that it lowers the barrier to entry, it makes things easier. But then a lot of the training about AI and a lot of the lessons are really complicated, and people describe it as learning a new programming language. It doesn't have to be hard. That's the first and most important lesson. You can really become a high level user in a single workday. So if you sit down and say, "I'm going to spend 2 hours," you'll get pretty good. And in 8 hours, you'll be an expert. Most people never do that because they think that it's a really high learning curve. And that's just perception. Once you start playing around, you go, oh, this is so much easier than I thought it was going to be. So that's the most important thing I want to share with everyone about AI.
That is awesome. And I know that you do YouTube videos as well, right, Jonathan?
Yes, I make a YouTube video every day.
Awesome. Wow. I gotta follow your goals because that is an excellent goal to have. I have a question about that. So with AI, I know there's certain programs with AI where you can get short videos and they come up with short videos, edit them fast for you. I work with videos and I know how long the editing process is. So, for example, this conversation we're having right now, it will take out certain key points out of the conversation and then place them on a short reel for you. So, I think it's called Opus. Have you heard of that program?
Yeah, there's a bunch of tools. This a year ago, this was a tool and now it's a feature. So probably every video editor, if they don't have it, will eventually be adding it. More and more tools have it. So the problem with it is the way it works. So it's a
Mhm,
really great promise, but the implementation never matches the promise. The way it
mhm,
works is it takes your video, transcribes it, and then sends it to ChatGPT to guess which are the most interesting parts.
mhm,
And what it will also react to is loud moments or music. So if you play a commercial, it will always pick the commercial as one of your best moments, one of your highlights. If you have intro music to your podcast or outro, it will always pick those moments. So the important thing is that it's a helper. It makes the process faster, but you have to go through and check each of the different clips and see which ones you want to use. And I always have to adjust the beginning and the end. It will start in the middle of me asking a question and then end in the middle of the person's answer. So it's not where they promised it was going to be, even with Opus version 3, which I was just testing last week to see if they'd finally crack the algorithm.
mhm,
I what I tend to use is I edit my videos in a tool called Descript. It's my favorite video editor, and I'll click a button that says "Find the short clips," and it will just highlight the pieces of text, and I
mhm.
jump to those sections, and I can quickly grab the beginning end of the text and click clip. So it's a little bit more of a manual process, but because AI's Descript does the same process, so it picks a lot of wrong clips too, but
Mhm.
it's a faster version of it and it doesn't have that additional fee. So I'm always testing tools for that because I wish it worked perfectly, but I end up watching like 10 or 15 clips from every AI tool that does it, and maybe 2 or 3 are usable. So to
Yes.
just 2 or 3 clips, it's almost better to go through a slightly more manual process.
Okay. That's good to know. So, this script is it sounds like it would be more useful than the Opus, as far as you're concerned?
Oh, yes, Descript is probably the best AI tool on the market, and it doesn't tell anyone that it's an AI tool. So they own Squadcast, they own all these other tools out there that feed into their business,
Mhm,
and Descript is start off as a transcription tool. So it really is transcription first. So
mhm,
when I edit a video, I edit it by text. So all of my videos that I upload to YouTube, all my podcast episodes go through Descript because I can upload it, tell it the name of the speakers. It has my voice saved. So if
mhm,
I have a glitch in the recording or I say the wrong word, I can change the word and it will use its AI to replace it with the correct word. And since my mouth is making the right shape, it's not obvious that the mistake happened. It sounds great. So
mhm.
that ability, they were the first ones to have that. They have the
Awesome.
best audio enhancer, the best green screen removal. I never expected this. When they kept adding features, I hated it. I was like, just be a transcription software, stop being something different. But they're now the best editing tool. The audio comes out really clean and it's just really easy to use because it's you just read and you just delete any words you don't want in the final version. And then when you want to make a clip, you just highlight a section and click one button and it turns it into a really great looking clip. So every time you see a clip from me on a short on YouTube or you see a vertical video on LinkedIn, I've made those with Descript. That's why they all look the same and they just are very fast and very clean. And there's
Ooh, go
one
ahead.
other secret feature that nobody knows about. When you
Mhm,
export a video from Descript, you have a choice of export or publish. When
mhm,
you click publish, they use their server. So rendering a video, as you know, is the slowest part of any process. If I'm trying to edit a video and render my computer, it will take 2 hours, 3 hours. If I click that publish button on Descript, it will render on their server, then download it, and it takes like 4 minutes.
Wow.
That alone, when I wish I'd learned that years ago. They've been doing it for years. I figured that out 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. I thought publish meant I'm publishing it online, but publish just means they use their server. There's no additional fee for that. So that allows me, because all my videos are in 4K, which is a
Mhm.
really takes my computer a long time. Sometimes rendering a video takes 4 hours, then a
Yes.
script, and it takes like 5 minutes. So it's such a time saver.
That takes a lot of room too, the 4K. I have to make sure that I put all of my stuff on exterior hard drive so I can make room in my computer.
Yeah, I was
That
just doing that this morning.
it's like a constant process, right? So I love this, and it's funny because what you mentioned that the script has been doing this for a while now. I remember on TikTok in 2020 hearing about this script and never really checking it out. And now I'm definitely, after talking to you, I got to check it out. I'm probably going to get that platform. So thanks so much, that program. Thanks so much for sharing that. So
Welcome.
we have a few people in the room that I want to say hi to and welcome. We got Chanel Rose. Hey Chanel, thanks for coming. We have LinkedIn user. They said 10 years ago, geolocation was the new hotness in app creations, and every app can have it. Now it's AI, and it will be in every app too. It sounds like it will be. Thanks for arranging the super session, and thanks for everyone for participating. Thank you, Professor Dr. Alam. Glad you could make it to the show. We have Grace who says, love this topic. AI is definitely a hot topic. So awesome. So back over to you, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come to this stage and share all that you know about AI, because it's definitely, we all need to know it. Really believe we all need to know it. So, what are your takeaways as to the main things that people should focus on at the moment to start with?
You don't need 50 tools or 20 tools or 10 tools. You need two or possibly three, depending on what you're doing. You need a text tool, which can be ChatGPT, it can be Claude, it can be Perplexity, it can be Mixtral if you want an open source, completely free tool. You only need one of those. You don't need all of them. The second thing you need is an image generator. Now, I'm a big fan of Midjourney, but it's okay if you use Leonardo or one of the Stable Diffusion versions or something that's a derivative of Stable Diffusion. Those are all great, but you don't need five of them. Even with my heavy use case where I shoot demo videos every single day, I only have 4 or 5 AI tool subscriptions. So I have a couple of additional tools that I use that are, because it's my job, that very rarely does a non AI person need to have a second tool. And the third thing you want is something for video. And in my opinion, as I mentioned, it's Descript. It can handle everything you want to do, from editing to cleaning up the noise, to removing the words when you said the wrong word, to removing background noise, to creating the transcript, creating short form videos, all of that stuff. So really, those three tools are my main workhorses. 90% of the time I'm using ChatGPT, Midjourney, or Descript. Those are my flagships. And combined, you're talking about $50 a month for all three tools, maybe $60. So it's not expensive compared to what tools cost even a year and a half ago. So you don't need a massive budget for AI.
I love it. You got me gonna start spending. It's something that we really need, and it's not really that expensive. Um, Thanks, Stephen, for coming in and saying you're having fun with AI, and thanks, Professor Shirley, for saying that it's a great topic. If I don't see any of the comments, folks, um, please know that I will answer all of the comments later. And on that note, Jonathan, it would be great for you to add your YouTube channel and also your uh, your information on the best AI for us to use. That would be great. I have a
Sure.
question on in
Okay.
regards to AI because I finished writing a children's book, so it's a cartoon type
Mhm.
book, and I wanted to make it into an animation. And I know that there are some AI that changes motion, changes still photos or still animations into moving pictures. Have you heard of that, or do I need to?
Yeah. There's a couple of tools that do that. They'll
Mhm.
take the front character and the background and move them in opposite directions, so it gives the perception of movement. The full animation or full, like, quality, like an actual short film level animation's not there yet. It's possible that it's in development. There was some been released lately with Chat OpenAI released a tool called Sora that says it can do that, but they haven't given the public access. So it's a promise and it sounds cool, but I'm a trust but verify kind of person. So for animation, it's not really there yet, but probably at sometime within the next 2 years. It could be in 6 months or it could be in 2 years. It will be there, but it's not there yet. So I don't talk about those text to video tools very much. Recently, one of the tools made a huge announcement that they could do where the voice will match, the mouth will match when someone's talking, but and I don't know why they announced it because I had a tool doing that a year ago. So I was really kind of surprised that they announced something that's been around for a long time, and it doesn't if the whole face isn't moving and just the mouth is moving, it looks weird. It's very obvious. It's like those late night TV shows where they cut out the mouth and someone's mouth is moving and the rest of it doesn't move. You can tell it's not the real person. So it's not quite there yet, but I think that we're gonna be there pretty soon.
Oh, I love it. Very, very interesting. I'm excited about all of this. So, when on your YouTube channel, you talk about what are the main things that you share about AI?
Sure. The first and most important thing is I cover the news. So I distill down the news from what's happening to what's useful, which is usually 5 to 10% of the news gets through my filter to my audience. Most of the stuff happening is interesting, but not useful, and it's a distraction. It's why I don't cover image news very much. I don't cover Google's tools very much because they're non-reliable. So I'm not going to tell someone about a tool that you can't trust for your business. I would never do that. So I really cover tools that I use. And then here's what you need to know because it's useful for your business. For example, yesterday I posted a video about the announcement Claude 3 just came out. This tool comes out, everyone says it's the best thing since sliced bread. I go, well, let's test it. Let me test it and see if it's worth switching. If you've already really dug in into ChatGPT 3.5 or 4, is it worth switching to another platform? How hard is it to do? And what's the difference in the experience? So that's a type of news story that I'll cover. Other than that, I do tutorials. So I'll teach you, for example, how to create consistent styles was a popular video I had last week, which is if you want to have every image look like it's from the same book, whether it's the same children's book or same comic book, this is often very hard because usually you'll see like a 3D Pixar type animation, then something that looks like cell shading, then a watercolor. And that's not really useful. What you want are four images that match. And that's what I covered last week. This week, I'm covering some things that build on top of that, such as how to create a character. We have multiple pictures of them from different angles. So you can start to create a reusable character. And then I review tools a lot. So every time a tool has a new announcement or claims that they've gotten a but way better, I'll do a review and shoot a video for people. So I'll go in, I'll usually do the paid upgrade so people don't have to. So I'll do a review of the free version to say, is the free version worth your time? Sometimes the free version's amazing. Sometimes free version's better than the paid version. And sometimes there's such heavy limitations that you have to be on the paid version. So all of those things are part of what I cover. I'm constantly teaching different techniques. Most of what I cover on the YouTube channel like is visual because it's easier to watch in a video. So a lot of it's about Midjourney, a lot of it's about image generation or image enhancers because those are very popular, like different tools you can use for those types of things.
That's awesome. So I noticed that we have a few people in the audience that have AI, and that's Dr. Tanya Farran. Hey, Dr. Tanya, I know that you have Ruby AI, right? So that's something that you could check out, Jonathan. And Aria Madrano giving us some smiles. Yeah, she asked, "Have you heard about Ruby AI?"
I haven't. I'm taking a look at it. So what I look for again is, and this comes up a lot, I really focus on mainstream tools, which are tools that are useful to 90% or more of my audience. So my audience is all people that are 40 plus entrepreneurs or business owners or CEOs or founders. So they're people that are kind of looking for something broad. Usually it's content acceleration, usually it's a CRM acceleration, that type of thing. So, like, I don't cover how to build your own AI app because it's too narrow in focus and too complicated. I'm always looking for a little bit broader, and that just happens to be my niche, which is really about usefulness and kind of widest impact. So that's what I approach because it's mathematically impossible for me to cover every tool. So I'm always looking for tools, especially that I can test or that are easy for me to test or understand what they do. Like I'm looking at the Ruby AI website and I don't know what it does. I have to log in to know what the tool does. So that immediately for me is a barrier. So if I have to guess, I just don't have the time. Like the whole point of AI is to make things easier. So and my experience is that a lot of tools, and I don't know about this one, but there are a lot of tools that make big claims and they're just front ends for chat gpt. So once I dig into the code, I found out that they're just a chat gpt front end. And if you're going to do that, might as well just use ChatGPT. Might as well just use the vanilla version that's more powerful and less money.
Um, so Dr. Tanya says that it does it all. So I guess, well, you'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
Wonderful
I
session. Everybody's loving this session, Jonathan. I'm so glad that you came on. Go
well, thank
ahead.
you so much for having me. Yeah, so I just wanted to say I appreciate everyone being here, everyone's feedback. I do try and check out every tool and kind of wait till I've tested to give an opinion. Just to thank everyone for being here. The best place to find me, as you asked earlier, is Serve No Master. That's where you can find me. That's my LinkedIn link. That's my YouTube channel. And if you go to servenomaster.com/gift, you can get a free copy of my book, ChatGPT Profits. Of course, you're welcome to buy it on Amazon for $25. It's still a bestseller a year later, which is exciting. And absolutely. And I'll put a link in the chat afterwards as well. I appreciate you guys being so active in the chat. It just means a lot to know you guys are paying attention. And yeah, I'm always willing to look at new tools and always looking for something better. Like anything that makes my life easier, I'm always going to want that as part of my bandwidth. So amazing. Thank you guys so much for asking all these great questions.
This is awesome. And I love what you mentioned about how the AI is helping build a character because another thing that I work with is filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker. That's one of my hobbies. So, how does AI help when it comes to filmmaking?
So it can help at every part of the process from storyboarding all the way through the final editing and help you with the process. Some things that are really simple. There are some AIs now that will switch between cameras. So if you have a multi-camera shot, instead of you going camera one, camera two, camera three, which is a skill, there are now AIs that will do that. There's a new tool coming out in a couple of weeks. It's supposed to come out by the end of the month called LTX Studio that makes some really big promises that it does everything from storyboarding all the way through final edit, adding special effects, adding voiceover. Until I test the tool, and I'm at the top of the wait list for it. I'm at the top of the wait list for every tool that I hear about. I don't know for sure, but I know that that's a direction a lot of things are going in. And there are some AI tools out there are now that are very helpful, such as AI color correction, which can be such a huge time investment for someone. Now that's there. There's things that help with audio and AI cleaning up the audio. So cleaning up background noise. A lot of those AI enhancements are getting better and better. Those are some really helpful areas. There are some ways to write scripts with AI, which we've seen a couple of movies that I suspect were written that way, so it can work out or not work out. You still have to be involved, but there are a lot of interesting things happening in that world for sure.
Yeah, I agree. You have to give it that special touch, right? So they could tell that they say that ChatGPT has a language and you have to teach it your language so that you can get the with right prompts and things of that sort, right?
Yes, if you just use, and we've all seen this in our LinkedIn feeds where someone posts and we can tell that it's a ChatGPT post. ChatGPT has an accent or way of talking. It always likes to use certain cadences and certain phrases, such as um, landscape. It always say in the coming digital landscape. It's like I never say landscape. No one uses that word. And no one talks with that type of phrasing. And it will often start, in fact, every single social media post that starts with a structure. You might think it's X, but it's actually Y. That's one of its favorite ways to start a social media post. So every time you see that, where there's a comma in the first sentence and it's no, you think it's this, but it's actually that. That always to me kind of gives a big, it's like a big giveaway. So we see that and go, oh, these tools are not any good because everything I see is bad, but it's actually just a bad use case. You can train the AI to use your language, your personality, and there are several ways to do this. You can just feed it. Here's 10 videos I posted to YouTube. This is what I talk like, and now it will talk like you. You can feed it things that you've written in the past. If you want to teach it to write emails in your style, say, here's the last 1,000 emails I wrote. Here's every sent email from the last year from me. Whenever you write an email on my behalf, this is what I sound like. And you'll find that now it can very quickly catch your style. So there's a lot of cool ways to do that. And that's one of the first things to really take into account because it's not designed to replace you, it's designed to accelerate you. It's designed to push you into management. So anytime you kind of remove yourself from the process and say AI does that, I don't check its work, that's where you start to get a bad result. But when you combine your specialized knowledge with AI's generalized knowledge, that's where you get really amazing results.
That's really cool. I think also with the video, because we could use a lot of stock footage, but I'm a stickler because I work with families, Head Start families. I'm a stickler of using the photos and the video that they're in because they can connect with seeing themselves. You know what I mean? So I think, but I think getting the help with the editing process would make everything a lot faster. So, oh, somebody here, Kevin Roberts is asking, what's the name of the AI color correction? We got some
Mm.
videographers here.
I can't remember the exact name. There's one that's a plugin for DaVinci Resolve
Uh-huh.
that's very popular, and I think there's another one that's for Adobe Premiere, but I don't do it, so I can't remember the name of it. But I looked at it a while ago, and there's a bunch out there. There's a lot coming out. There's a bunch of color correction tools in photos that I tested, and none of them were that good. But I know the video editor one. Some video editors I know use it, but I haven't tested it myself, so I don't remember the name.
Okay, well that's all right. And I know DaVinci Resolve is free too. So if it's in that, we could probably check it out in there.
I think it's a paid add-on for it, so a lot of
Oh,
people will build a tool that goes on top of it. I wish, but
uh-huh.
a lot of tools start off paid and end up becoming free. So it's probably something that will go from being a specialized product to a feature that every video editor will have in the next year or two.
Nice. Nice. I'm telling you, a lot of things that are coming out is I've been using them already in video editing, but I think also in CapCut with a lot of there's been a lot of AI in CapCut um, when it comes to changing pictures, like they have pictures of when you were young and or how to make yourself look like you're 14 and vice versa, how to make yourself look older, right? So those are kind of cool ones to play with if you're making a story. There's a lot of different things to use with that. So that CapCut's been doing it for a while now, and it has different creative styles to it, to even making it look like an animation, turning you into an animation. So I love experimenting with that. Um, Jennifer Stowell says LTX. So what is LTX? I feel like I'm old now because I don't know what the
No,
acronym means.
no, that's the software I mentioned a minute ago.
Oh,
LTX Studio is the video
LTX.
editing.
I
It's a
thought it was.
software coming out in the end of it's supposed to come out by the end of March, which is the all-in-one video creation tool that promises everything from storyboarding all the way through adding special effects, adding voiceovers, adding music to your and everything in between. So it really promises to be an entire all-in-one studio because most people right now making video with AI
Mhm.
use 6 or 7 different tools in the process, and
Yeah.
they claim, we'll see if it's true, that you can do it all inside of one umbrella.
Uh-huh. I love this. I love that we have some others in the audience that can share the info. This is what I love about LinkedIn. We have so many people that share. Lisa says, "Thank you for your time and sharing knowledge." Uh, Ari says, "Audio and color editing with AI would be high fives." And let's see, the knowledge of the operator is reflected in the book. So there you go. I can't
Yeah.
wait to read the book, and I thank you so much for offering that to everybody who's come. I'd like to also do an audio room with you, Jonathan. I think this because then we can have more of a conversation with everybody. Uh,
Yeah.
so, but I'm really digging this conversation, and what you said is so true. We really need to plan because we don't know what's coming up in the future, right? And so it's always good to have that extra skill, and actually it's necessary. It's not just good, it's necessary for us to have that extra skill. So so glad that you're sharing this information. So what are your so you mentioned three top AIs that we should use is ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Descript, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do have the Chat GBT, so it looks like I need to check out the Midjourney and also the Descript. Now, in regards to Midjourney, do you still? I remember it had something connected um, with Discord. Is that still the? Is that still going on now, or is it just a single
Yeah.
platform?
You have to create images via Discord right now. Once you've made 1,000 images, then you can use their website. But the Discord version is still more powerful. They've been in alpha with the website version for 2 months or so now. And at first you had to have 10,000 images, then 5,000. Now it's down to 1,000. So eventually they're going to release it for everyone. But it doesn't have all the variables and it doesn't have some very important features.
Mm.
So
So it's important to have Discord as well with.
yeah, you can just do so much with it with Discord because you can create different threads for your different types of images. So you can really organize things. And it's just a process, but you can also use Discord inside of your browser. So you don't have to have the separate like app running on your computer.
Okay. Dr. Tanya says Ruby AI has chat and Midjourney in it for one price. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate someone, I guess, advertising their software a lot in our chat, but that's a major red flag for me because I'd rather work with 3 specialists than 1 generalist. I've experienced this a lot with software tools. Like you see these tools that go, "Hey, I'm a copywriter, I'm a page builder, I host your videos, I'm a webinar software." It does it all in one and it does everything okay.
Mhm.
But especially with AI, I happen to know what the API costs are for every single tool. And if they're let's just say I'm very skeptical because there's some things in that description that make me I probably wouldn't use the tool. Like for me personally, considering that Midjourney is $12 a month to have an unlimited tool that's the most elite tool, anything that's trying to back end in, it's not really worth it to me. I don't need to save $12 by playing a little bit of a game. And same thing for ChatGPT. It's $20 a month for unlimited. The last thing I want to do is kind of get caught using a backend tool. In my experience is almost every single tool that's using the API is using the cheaper API. They say it's and you're just getting a lesser version. There's no reason to do that. So that's not what I teach. It's not my methodology. Usually I get reached out by a lot of tools like this that offer me a really big commission. And
Mhm.
I can make a lot more money recommending other tools. I make no money from Midjourney. I make more money from ChatGPT. They don't have affiliate programs. And Descript, I didn't give my affiliate link. So, and I don't even know if it's still active. I haven't checked it in a long time. But I
Mhm.
tend to focus on the tools that are the best for my audience. That's kind of always gonna be my methodology.
Mhm.
And this is also why my podcast, I don't interview founders because the solution to every problem is always their software. And I
Uh-huh.
have to spend at least 2 hours testing a software before I'll talk about it. And
Mhm.
90% of my reviews are negative. So I'm the wrong person to go to. There are other people on YouTube who post only positive reviews, and I have a strong opinion about them. That's
Mhm.
not of thought, especially if you watch what I've been posting on LinkedIn for the past week. Every AI tool has done some pretty horrific things to pictures of me, to pictures of my family. And everyone says, oh, this is the best AI image enhancer. And I said, well, it turned my daughter's feet into hands. Like, that's not a good enhancement. Okay. That's a genetic experiment gone wrong. My kids walked in and started laughing because it was so offensive. It added 40 years to my age. So I said, oh, this is great if you're a vendetta. But everyone will promote these tools and say, this is the best tool because there's a high commission,
Mhm.
because they have a lot of money to spend to pay influencers.
Mhm.
It's not my business model. I don't make money. That's not my business. So I don't have
Mhm.
to seek sponsorships for my videos. I never will need to. I don't even need YouTube monetization, even though I'm almost there. So I always think it's very important to know who the person is. And if someone has a financial relationship with a product, that's always something that is very important to know when they're recommending a product. It's like, oh, you're recommending the product that you own. It's very important for you to know. And I I only make money one way, and that's with my 3 training courses, and that's it. I don't sell coaching, I don't sell software, and I don't do anything, like, in these spaces. So I try to maintain my integrity because that's really why I have such a large audience.
Well, tell us more about your training courses.
Sure.
Okay.
I have 3 programs. One is if you wanna use AI to build your own business, it's called AI Freedom. So if you wanna learn how to do print on demand shirts or how to create your own product, anything in that space, I actually wrote the first verse a year ago. I have to redo every lesson this month. So I redo everything every 3 to 4 months inside the program. So I'm
Mhm.
constantly doing that. So that's this month's mission. As soon as I get ahead on some things, that's what I have to do. The YouTube video a day is really quite the endeavor. So that's part of that program. So anything you want to do for yourself. The second program I have is called Fraction AIO. If you want to do AI for someone else, be a consultant, help companies that already exist to do things faster or save time. So you take AI like as a magic dust and accelerate them, which is a huge market right now. It's where a lot of people are in, whether you want to do coaching, consulting, be a fractional AIO in-house for a company where you work several hours a week for multiple
Mhm.
companies.
Mhm.
Huge opportunity right now because the ratio of job openings to people is about 1,000 to 1, probably
Mm.
the biggest opening in the market right now. And then the third product I have is called cyber staffing agency. It's all my character prompts. So I have a character, for example, named Linda that I built, and you can load her inside of ChatGPT. She works in Claude, and then she writes when I'm doing LinkedIn work. I use a different character if I'm doing Twitter. I have one for that I use when I'm doing TikTok. She's annoying because everyone who does TikTok is annoying. So they have really strong personalities. They come with images. That's really my biggest acceleration. There's about 200. I'm adding a couple every month whenever people ask for one. Like someone asked for an immigration lawyer, so I built one. Whatever you kind of need, it's the way to activate genius mode inside of ChatGPT or Claude. It works on all the different platforms. It's platform agnostic. What that allows you to do is bypass the need to be smart at your prompting, because that's
Mhm.
like the barrier for most people. So it will ask you questions. It will go, hey, I'm Tanya. These are the 5 things that I'm really good at. Or we can do these things. Which one do you want to do? It's like, oh my gosh, I wish this is how ChatGPT talked to me all the time and just told me what it can do instead of me guessing. And then
Mm.
I'm in development for a new program called Future Proof Resume, which is for my audience who want to learn AI but are not entrepreneurs. They just want to learn it to be job protection. So that's why
Mhm.
it's called Future Proof Resume. That one, it has more theory that I'm putting to the front of it, which is really here's how to basically how you can explain AI to your boss. Here's how you can explain AI to your coworkers. So you can become the person in the office everyone goes to when they have a question. My belief here, and this is built on, is in the 80s, the first person who figured out how to use the fax machine was bulletproof. Because we
Mhm.
can't fire Jonathan. He's the only one who knows how the fax machine works.
Mhm.
So you have this secondary skill that's not your job that protects you. And then in the 90s, it was the printer.
Mhm.
And then it was in the early 2000s. Well, Jonathan built the website. He's the only one who knows how to update it. So you have this additional outside your normal job set skill. He goes, oh, you're the person your boss comes to have a question. For the past 10 years, it's been social media. And now it can be AI. So there's a really big first mover advantage. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than your coworkers. So that's really the
Absolutely.
philosophy of that one, but it also will contain a lot of the technical knowledge and SOPs for processes that people have inside of Fraction AIO. So it's got there's some crossover between those two programs because in
Mhm.
both cases, like you need to learn how to write an email with AI, how to write a blog post with AI. So there is some crossover, and that one hopefully will be out next month. I just have to
Mhm.
redo my AI freedom first, which of course, again, people always ask, I don't charge each time I release a new version. I don't have to. I just have a lot of new people coming in. So I have a
Mhm,
very simple business model. So I teach those 4 things. I was going to stick to 3 courses until a bunch of people asked about what if I don't want to be an entrepreneur? I
mhm.
really, so now what I do is I rotate every quarter, I update the 4 courses, one per month. Then I start over again because the AI keeps changing. That's all I do.
That's excellent. And I really like that, the last one, because I think there's a lot of people that wanna be the authority of AI, right? And, they're gonna be really looked at as a special one in the office. So I like that. I like that. And, how do we get how do we get those trainings? Where do we need to go?
When you download my book for free,
Mhm,
you'll get an invitation to one of my workshops. You'll
mhm,
get emails inviting you to different events that demonstrate everything. I like to show you everything in there. I want you to get a chance to really look at my book and see if I'm as good as I say I am, to really kick the tires and test
mhm.
it, light the fires, because I think that's very important to really get a sense of authenticity, to get a sense that I really know what I'm talking about, to kind of see my content. So all of that's in there. So you get a chance to experience me. But if you want to jump straight to them, you can go to fractionaio.com or cyberstaffingagency.com and register for one of my workshops right there. But again, this is not a hard sales pitch. You don't have to. You're more than welcome to read my book for free and really test me first. I'm totally okay with that because you
Okay.
want to make sure that the person you're learning from knows what they're talking about and they're the kind of person that you want to learn from. So get a feel for my lifestyle, get a feel for what I post about and write about. And if you like my style, then yeah, I would love to connect with more people.
Absolutely. I think it's awesome. So, and you could also put in the comments here under this event. That's another way people can connect with you, and also the YouTube channel. So I had such a great time with you here, Jonathan. Uh, I'm looking forward to our audio room where we'll be talking more about what you do. Do you have any last comments? Because it looks like this time went by so quickly. It's already
Yeah.
time for us to close room.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everyone being so active in the comments. And I'm going to go through read all the comments myself too. It means a lot to me. If you guys want to connect with me, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow me. I have a newsletter where I post every single day an edition that has a breakdown of that day's YouTube video. And that way you know what's coming. So it's an easy way to get it. And I cover exactly the news you need to know. So when some news is breaking, like when Claude 3 came out or when ChatGPT announced Sora, I stayed up all night to put out a video for everyone else. So I'm always there trying to be cutting edge for you so that you know everything you need to know and nothing that you don't need to know.
That is awesome. So, I'm looking forward to Sora too because I've heard of that one as well. So that's another one to try. So, really had a great time with you. And what do you suggest to anybody that is an entrepreneur when it comes to AI? What do you suggest that they do? What is your message to them?
Don't let fear or the thought that this is a fad hold you back. You don't need to go through a bunch of experts or buy massive collections of prompts. You can learn it in one day, whether you learn it from my book or from another source. The information is out there for free, and only when you want to get to a higher level, then you start deciding if you want to start investing money. But you can really learn it for a low amount of money, master this tool, and start to add it to your repertoire. And it's going to keep that promise because it's going to make you faster, which means you get more time to spend with your family or more time to grow your business. And that's the most important thing to me.
Awesome. And how about those what is your suggestion to those who, let's say maybe they have an administrative job, maybe um, working out get with content at work, and things of that sort, or any type of position. Let's say that they are a teacher, or let's say that they're in social services. How could AI help a teacher or someone who's in social services? Because teachers are swamped.
Mhm.
They are swamped with work.
Yeah, I worked in education for 10 years. I was a teacher for 10 years, all the way from kindergarten through graduate school in my career before I switched to entrepreneurship, so I know exactly what that feels like. It's that
Mhm.
everything you do from organization to test grading to creativity to checking to see if the kids are cheating, AI can help you with all of those things. It's just about using the right tool. And most of the time, it's the tools I talk about. You don't need a specialized tool, you don't need an expensive tool. Most of the time, the cheapest tools are the best tools. Sometimes, if you're in a specific industry where you need to worry about sensitivity, company sensitivity documents, then you have to look for a tool that has that higher level of security. That's the only additional thing to look at. But I would say that I work with some very, very big corporations in the Fortune 500 space, and there's a couple of things happening. There are
Mhm.
3 different movements. One is the movement where companies are banning ChatGPT. That's because employees are using it to put out lower quality work.
Mhm.
That's an overreaction, but I understand what's happening. The second thing that's happening is certain companies, I know a company I work with, sent out an email on a Friday and said, "On Monday, come with a plan for how you can use AI to do your job better, or don't come in on Monday," to the
Wow.
entire company. That's coming. I don't care where you work. That email is coming sometime. It could be next week or it could be next year, but it's going to come at every single company on earth within the next 5 years. So
Mm.
that's the train coming towards you. And I'm warning you about that. The third thing is that another company I work with said to every employee, for every percent faster, I'll increase your salary by that percentage. So if you become 50% faster, I'll raise your salary 50%. Because I'm getting 50% more value, I'll pay you 50% more for it. So this is the opportunity to get the craziest raises that there will be in your lifetime. It won't come again, and it hasn't been like that before. Normally, you can get a 1% raise or a 2% raise, but I know people that have gotten 47% raises in the last year just
Wow.
because they're the first one in the office to learn AI. So this is a really big opportunity that is not just for entrepreneurs, not by any stretch of the imagination.
I love it. It makes so much sense, and I'm so thankful that you're preparing us and, giving us so much value in this whole I would call this a training because you gave us so much information and provided so much value. So we'll be talking about audio rooms where we'll have conversations, and I would love for you to join me, Jonathan. I really enjoyed this. And thank everybody for coming here. Love you guys for making it tonight. Make sure that you all connect with each other and make sure that you follow and connect with Jonathan because he's going to take you on that path, the AI path, so you could start moving forward. So awesome. So without further ado, we're going to close the room. Love you, my dear friend. You're my and I love the fact that you were a teacher before. We have a lot of things to talk about now because I work with a lot of teachers. So awesome conversation. We shall close the room and look forward to seeing you all in our next audio where we will also be talking about AI. So thank you very much. Good night. Mwah. Bye.
Hi, everyone.